Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of The Antidote. I am your host, Ryan Verdon. It's been a minute. Thank you for being here. Didn't get a chance to really tell people that we were going to do an episode of The Antidote tonight. So if you're watching this after, thank you anyway. Jump in the comments. We'll make sure to monitor those. Got a lot going on, so I am just going to jump into it. But before I do, I want to make sure that you know how to get connected. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe. If you're on Instagram, hit that follow. I don't think we're anywhere else. If you got this because you subscribe to the Substack, thank you, thank you, thank you. Consider being a paid subscriber. Send this to all your friends. You know, the hustle that we have to do. I want to give it some time because you know these algorithms are slow, letting people know that we're going live. We've had some really good feedback on the last shows. We talked with Kiese Lehman, we talked with Rosa Clemente, talked with Christine Saxman, Shelly Touchluck. We've had a lot of really dope people on here, so make sure you check out some of the past shows. What else is going on? The world has not stopped being crazy. We're going to touch on a lot of those things. The Antidote is the place where we acknowledge the disconnect and the disease and the tragedy that is too often in our face in this world, but also where we go one step further. We don't just sit in that. We talk about what can we do to make it better? How can we fix it? How can we be the antidote to the sickness? And tonight is no different. We're going to talk about some stories, and then I got a real special guest that is going to help us make sense of all that. So without further ado, I want to jump into a story that my timeline has been talking about. My social media has had this front and center for quite some time, and that's the case of Nolan Wells. And not just Nolan Wells, but also there's two other black boys, 18 young black men whose death is very, very mysterious, to say the least. Their names are Daniel Erving and Tyler Smith. And today, civil rights attorney Ben Crump held a press conference, and I want to go ahead and show that to y'all. And then just talk about it for a second. So hold on one second. Share. And then we're going to throw this up here, add to stage. Y'all can see this. Yes. Here we go. Play.
Attorney Ben Crump taking the stage today at the National Urban League's annual conference in Nashville.
Crump spoke regarding the cases of several clients, including updates in the team's investigation into the death of Nolan Wells.
Crump says the team's currently working with oceanic engineer experts to talk about how and why Nolan's body was found in the same location he was last seen. Attorney Eric Hertz is leading the team's investigation and says that after communicating with Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers-Mickelrath, she would be open to listening to some of the evidence Crump's team has gathered. The team's also continuing talks with the DA's office to do a joint inspection of phones related to the case. Hertz says they believe the FBI would also be present for the inspection.
But please understand that all of these distractions, these other questions that people, the attacks that people have sent our way, just know we will not be distracted. We are ready to do whatever we need to do as his parents to continue advocating for him, because Nolan is not here. He is not here to speak for himself. He is not here to tell us what happened.
In addition, Crump says Dr. Roger Mitchell, who performed Nolan's independent autopsy, is working to obtain Nolan's throat for examination, which wasn't present at the time of the second autopsy.
Real parts, real pros, real easy.
All right, so we're going to start sharing. All right, folks. So you can see we got some updates there. You might have heard Nolan Wells' throat was not included in the independent autopsy, which is wild to think about. Also, you probably have heard of the cleaned up audio where the call to the tow, to the boat that was going to tow them in. You can hear people saying, is he dead? Nolan, wake up. Did you fucking kill him? So there's a lot of questions here. And again, the Nolan Wells case has gained a lot of traction. And today in Nashville, Ben Crump used, and Nolan Wells' family used the attention that case is getting to shine a light on Daniel Erving and Tyler Smith, also are their deaths are very mysterious. And this isn't new. This is the story of America, right? Is Black Death being treated either inconsequentially or just kind of brushed under the rug because we just don't care. That's the whole impetus for the Black Lives Matter movement. And so want to make sure we keep that front and center for us. We are demanding justice for Nolan Wells, that we are thinking about what can we do to demand justice and to make sure that the state of Mississippi is doing what needs to be done to make sure that Daniel Erving and Tyler Smith are in Kentucky and Texas, respectfully. And so got to make sure that we keep the pressure on. And this is especially true for us white folks. I know it's easy to see ourselves in the kids on the boat, but that's the problem, right? And so we got to make sure that we're keeping the pressure on. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. The next story is one that I was just like, again, floored by. Literally texted my brothers and my dad and was like, this cannot be real. But it was. Pete Hegseth, I commented on my Facebook about this as well. Pete Hegseth has decided that we are going to demand testosterone testing in the military. Take a look. Here we go.
Testosterone levels to operate at your absolute best.
The test will be part of annual health screenings for troops 30 and older. Younger troops can volunteer to be tested. Any treatment would be up to the individual soldier.
It's not about artificial enhancement. It's about restoring and optimizing your natural capabilities, protecting your longevity, and ensuring you have the biological foundation required to sustain the fight.
Experts say hormones matter beyond just the gym.
It's a biomarker of a man's overall health. And so when we have low testosterone, this can contribute to fatigue, reduced muscle strength, decreased endurance, impaired concentration, low mood.
Guidelines generally recommend against blanket testing, as levels can swing throughout the day. The Pentagon also did not say whether female troops would be offered similar hormone screening. Two Democratic lawmakers, both veterans, are urging Hegseth to extend hormone testing to all service members. For those who do have low levels, experts say there are effective treatments.
We have good data now showing the safety and efficacy of testosterone therapy.
It's the latest in Hegseth's push to reshape soldiers' health and fitness. He's ordered tougher fitness tests and daily physical training, declaring a crackdown on, quote, fat troops.
The Trump administration is looking to expand access.
So again, here we are. We have gender-affirming care. And I know people might be like, oh my God, what is that? That is exactly what this is. For those of you that don't know, and how you don't know, I don't know. But who would have thought we'd be talking about this and when we're talking about some justice and getting right? But as men get older, we produce less testosterone. And testosterone is ostensibly the thing that makes us men. It makes us violent and quick and Hegseth's favorite term, lethal. And so Hegseth has decided that we're going to test our military men for low T and inject them with more testosterone if they are low. Why? Because, you know, he has said we're going to be the most lethal army in the world, as if we haven't been the most lethal army in human history. And of course, they don't think this through, because that is exactly what they have been railing against when we talk about trans folks, when we talk about Tim Walz providing tampons and pads and menstrual products for young ladies in schools. All of this is gender affirming care. When we talk about pay time off for folks who experience menstruation or pregnancy, all of this is gender affirming care. And it is saying the quiet part out loud, right? It is saying that for white men, we should be catered to, and everybody else should just go away, be quiet, stop getting in our way. And we're going to talk about the ways that even this idea is harmful. Our guest today is going to talk about, we're going to have a conversation about the ways systems of oppression, which patriarchy is one, white supremacy, capitalism, heteronormativity, all of these things hurt those of us that are supposedly propped up by them. And so Hegseth is prime example of that. This low T and gender affirming care piece is one piece, but the other one is where Hegseth has been in the news is these bombings in the Caribbean for the narco terrorists. It hasn't stopped the coke, yo. They just put out a report. Cocaine prices still the same. Supply is still the same. This spoiler alert: rich white people do cocaine, not the hood. And so we are bombing people for no reason. Even if you buy that we're bombing narco terrorists and that these are drug dealers in South America, it has had no effect. It is not working. And so I believe the last number was 280, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's close to 300 folks have been murdered by the United States military in the Caribbean and off the Pacific coast of South America, with no evidence provided at all that they have done anything illegal. Matter of fact, many of the folks that are connected in the countries and to the people that have been murdered say that they're fishermen. And so here we are again, the most lethal military in the world, killing fishermen, objectively not meeting goals. And that's to say nothing about Iran and the disastrous war there. Again, not meeting goals. And you can watch for yourself the grilling that Hegseth went through as he was asking for more money for bombing innocent people in Iran and costing Americans. Again, this idea that whiteness, masculinity, capitalism, patriarchy is good for people who look like me. I hope we can put an end to that, y'all. I hope we can put an end to that, because then we can put an end to one of the most frustrating stories that I have come across. Let me get look at, when you're doing your own stuff, you got to make sure you get this stuff. You might remember Shiloh Henricks. She was the white girl who called a black autistic kid the N-word in Rochester, Minnesota, my home state. And it went viral. She ended up with getting arrested, facing charges, and then she had a GoFundGo. Is that what it's called? But she just got found guilty. And so I want to show y'all. Here we go. Hold on. Let me show y'all. Here. Her GoFundGo has reached nearly $1 million. It is wild. It has reached nearly $1 million. And once again, racism is paying off. Racism is paying off. But not just for young Shiloh Henricks. It is also paying off for Jake Lang, who is back in the news because he is capitalizing as a true grifter would off of this, and he has decided, again, here we go. This is his march. You can see the N-word march, August 2nd in Minneapolis. Now, the last time this dude came to Minneapolis, he got dog walked and needed black men to escort him out. So why he would want to come back, especially after he's been getting his ass whooped everywhere he goes, he's been getting whooped. But he wants to come back up to Minneapolis, and it's one of the most offensive pieces of propaganda and marketing that you'll see. But this is the world we live in, y'all. This is the world we live in. So Shiloh Henricks, she's gonna make $1 million. Her fine, she was found guilty. Her fine will be $1,000. Okay. And so that's the context that we find ourselves in. And I am going to invite our guest here to help us make sense of it. And so our guest is Michelle Chalmers. I should have met Michelle in person. We've been in the same places, but for some reason have not met in person. Had the opportunity to attend a talk that she gave on her new book, Liabilities of Whiteness. And we just kicked it. We clicked, and it felt like I was talking to somebody I had known for years. I'm super excited to have her here on the Antidote to help us make sense of all this. And so, yeah, Michelle, hello.
Hello, Ryan.
Welcome to the
How you
Antidote.
doing? Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For sure. So, Michelle, tell people Liabilities of Whiteness. This is your book. Tell us about it. What does it mean? How did it come about?
Sure, absolutely. Yes. So I have let's see, my racial awareness journey and understanding first that I was white, and then understanding what the system of whiteness has been over 30 years in the making. And I'm a social worker by trade, so first started to really be introduced through my undergraduate and graduate work in social work and understanding systems of white supremacy, and obviously our capitalist system that it's all rooted in. And so in doing this work, I realized that a lot of the work that white people need to do as we strive to be anti-racist is our own work, is really to look inward, do that self-reflective practice that we need to do to understand how whiteness, the system of whiteness, right? So whiteness is not white people. Whiteness is a system that is set up through, as you said, white supremacy, patriarchal, racist Christian capitalism, as Bell Hooks also talks about. So in my studies and in my work, what was interesting as I was attending anti-racist conferences and the White Privilege Conference for the last 12 years, Peggy McIntosh, the invisible knapsack, was handed to me constantly in a lot of the workshops that I attended. And that, Michelle, you need to understand your privilege. It's white privilege. Look at Peggy McIntosh. She talks about 58 different ways that white people benefit and have assets. That whiteness is an asset, or white privilege is an asset. And
yeah, I think that's like the staple, right? Is like the unpacking the knapsack, and
That's
maybe
right.
Tim's White Like Me, which are great works.
Absolutely.
They're great works.
Absolutely. And please know, I'm not saying anything of, that yes, it is necessary to understand that we as white people in the system have privilege and access and opportunity that other people are denied. 100%, Black and brown people specifically, fellow Americans specifically. And this is a framing, as you talk about in your book, that again is over 30 years old, and I just don't see the receipts. I don't see that white people are engaging in this war of authoritarianism, fascism. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of words that we could talk about what's happening right now, and I don't see the collective force of us really nice white people who have all this privilege out in the streets as we need to be, and figuratively and literally. So I started to think about, there is no short end of the stick without a long end of the stick. And if we think that we get the long end of the stick in our whiteness, and somehow Black and brown people end up with the short end of the stick, I think we're missing the point. And so there is no assets without liabilities. So I set out in 2016. I called Peggy McIntosh, told her that I wanted to do a mirroring essay that take her assets of whiteness and white privilege and do a liabilities through my lens as a white woman. And so I came up with 23 what was at the time liabilities of white privilege. And so now, as I have learned and realized that it is a system of whiteness that actually is the liability for white people, because it has suppressed our humanity. And I think we have to be honest about that. And when I looked at my liabilities of whiteness and thought about all the ways that whiteness has impacted me to not be able to have the empathy, compassion, love, understanding for myself, and therefore not really being able to have it for anyone else, specifically Black and brown people, or what we have been told are others or non-white, that I felt that this is the work. If white people are going to really understand the systems that we live in that are not working for us, we must understand how this is hurting us. Because nobody's going to do anything, Ryan, if it doesn't impact you. Nothing, if there's no benefit to you, right? I've been in sales for 30 years. You know about WIFM, what's in it for me, right? Everyone's, what's in it for me, right? Look at Shiloh, as you just explained. What's in it for me? Yeah. So
it's funny, that was the working title of my book for a long time, is What's in It for Me.
Yes, really. That's what's in it for me. And that is exactly right, Ryan, is that until we collectively, and I know it's not going to be everyone as much as I wish that it would be, but the white people that are looking at this shit going, what the hell is going on? This does not line up with my values. This does not line up with what I thought America to be. I know I was tricked. I know I didn't learn all of the history. I know I don't know everything. However, what I can see, I'm kind of not okay with. And so I have to really look at how this system has impacted me in order to get in the fight and to stay in the fight. I need to have a motive, and that motive is me. And I know you say the same thing, that this is such important work to reclaim our humanity. This shit, again, just ask yourself, is anybody that you're looking at that so-called looks like you, that is in this administration or being part of this administration or supporting this administration, have any of your shared values? Do they line up with anything that you believe is righteous or right? They're on the wrong side of right. It is wrong. It is immoral. It is inhumane. It is insane. Just even the things that you talked about tonight, the testosterone and the the N-word march and the GoFundMe, and that you can, it can be so overwhelming, and I know that's the point. And I know that's the point, right? We know that Steve Bannon talked about this. We're going to flood the zone. We're going to flood the zone. And definitely, especially us white women, just going to speak to my white sisters out there, that we've been, coddled for a very long time, thinking that this system, really cared about us and protected us and gave us this comfort. It's all a bunch of bullshit. And they're coming for us. They have come for us. It's all in disguise. It's all through anti-Blackness. And we, again, don't want to look at anti-Blackness, don't want to understand anti-Blackness, and don't want to understand how we're connected to this anti-Blackness. But we need to.
So you brought a amen to all of that. And I know we've talked about this, and I think it's you brought it up when you were talking about flooding the zone and it feeling overwhelming. For me, one of the things that has helped me deal with that overwhelm and process it is this understanding of whiteness versus white people. And I know you talk about that. You said, like, okay, as you've come to understand this, you switch liabilities of white privilege to more understanding it as liabilities of whiteness and whiteness as a system. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know I rant about that. If they're watching this, they've heard me say it as many ways as I know how to say it. I would love to hear you say it, though.
Yes, and this was really instrumental for me to really understand, and it came about in a couple of different ways. And one of the ways it came about was after reading Dr. Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist, and looking at his definitions and really defining racism and defining racist. And, so you're either, well, when I first read it, I believe that definitely only white people could be racist because of the definition that I was sort of told, that, again, it's prejudice plus power, yields racism. And what Dr. Ibram X. Kendi talked about was that, if we move away from the frame that people are racist and instead look at it as what you said is racist, what you did was racist, what you didn't do was racist. So now we sort of separate it from a standpoint of you can actually say something racist and anti-racist in the same sentence, right? And so it gave me sort of a way to say, okay, so I'm not going to look at, I know that I've been raised in a racist society, and I always said I am racist. I definitely, there's no way you can not be racist as a white person. And so what he gave me was the language of saying, okay, I definitely have said things that are racist, thought things that were racist or rooted in racism. And he says, what you believe or what you think, is it rooted in equity and justice, or is it rooted in inequity or injustice, right? And so that sort of framing helped me to realize, okay, let me separate myself a little bit from this. I'm not going to give myself, any grace, or maybe a little, just to say, okay, I definitely have said racist things and thought racist things, and certainly upheld some racist ideas, certainly by not speaking up and saying anything. And then that helped me to think about this as a system. Because how did I learn all of these things and be able to say things that are racist and rooted in inequity and injustice if there isn't a system of inequity and injustice? So that is what has helped me to understand that, and maybe this framing isn't right for everyone, but I do find, even a conversation that I had with my nephew recently, because he was like, Auntie Michelle, I just don't understand how and why racism exists. Like, I have friends that are people of color, and and the white people I know, like just thinking of it as somehow, well, if I friends with people of color and I like people of color and I don't think these things, then racism shouldn't exist, right? Because I'm a good person and I don't think these things and I have friends. So believing that race or racism is only interpersonal. And so when you start to really think about the system that is set up for this oppression through whiteness, through a lens of ideology and interpersonal racism, intrapersonal racism, and obviously institutional racism, it really helped, and I don't know if it helped you, to really think about, wow, I live in a system that is set up that I didn't ask for, I didn't want, I don't want to buy into it. It does not adhere to my values at all. But shit, how has it impacted me that I haven't even realized? How has it impacted me, this system, to, if I'm honest, my number one liability, as soon as you open up my book, number one, liability of whiteness. Whiteness racialized me to believe I was superior. Now that's a difficult thing to admit, but I have to realize that the system demands that. That system encourages that. Look, you don't think Shiloh? Look at Shiloh, right? You don't think?
Oh, you don't say those. Yeah, you don't say those things if you think. It's funny because I think the times when I've intervened or been asked to intervene, I'm a restorative justice practitioner, and so oftentimes it'll be, I get called into a place where somebody or a group of people have said something racially insensitive, right? Maybe use the N-word at a school, and I'm going to facilitate some sort of healing, or like learning and healing and repair. And the thing that always gets people is they'll say, like, I only said that because I was mad or I wanted to hurt them. And then they never make that connection that exactly you knew how to hurt them. You knew that you had a weapon that could hurt them that they could not wield back. That there is something institutionally, fundamentally, on a molecular level of our society that you will always be able to have access to that hurts people. And that's the same thing for straight folks. That's the same thing for rich folks, right? That's the way systems of oppression work. And it doesn't matter what you hold in your heart. Because I say things to my brothers who I love dearly that I hate. My daughter is mad at me right now. She's 11, so she'll get over it. But like, she'll say things we say things when we're mad that are hurtful. And so the question is, how do we make sure that these weapons aren't backed by institutional power that can cause this type of hurt, right? Because also, why it's so hurtful is because you also don't have the power as an individual white person to change that. And I think that's something that white people don't understand either. Is it actually, us as individual white people cannot deconstruct white supremacy. It's going to take community. It's going to take collective action. It's going to take multiracial democracy. And we can contribute to that. But again, like, we're not that important. We're not that powerful. And that's a part of being socialized, in my opinion, of being superior, is you think you are capable of changing the world. And the reality is you're not. I can hear my grandma like, who do you think you are? Like, you know what I mean? And that's why I think I'm so drawn to, and folks have heard me talk about the Wellness Center and some of my own spiritual beliefs. If you read my book, I talk about like the collectivism, right? I'm also anti-capitalist. Right. And it's the collective piece that is so important to me because I am nothing without the people, without my ancestors, without the people. I'm responsible to people in front of me, and I'm accountable to people. I'm accountable to people who come in before me, responsible to people who came before me, after and before. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's late.
You know what? And Ryan, I think that, yes, it is going to take us collectively, luckily not all of us, we don't need everyone, but we do need a lot more of us. And individually, we need to do our own work, because we cannot show up collectively in spaces to demolish this white supremacist system if we have not understood how whiteness has impacted us, and how we reclaim our humanity first. Because this movement of racial or multiracial democracy is all about love. It is all about community, in connection, love, peace, justice. And so that
Amen.
freedom and that liberation can only come if we love ourselves. And I think we have to be honest that this system teaches us to hate ourselves. And I think that's part of what Hegseth is doing. You think how these men that, you know, white men, the number one, you know, people who commit suicide right now are white men. And then now he's saying, you know, you have low testosterone, you're fat, you're this. I mean, there's so much self-hatred in this system of white supremacy that we have to be honest about that. And I think as women, we have to, as white women specifically, we have to understand how we have literally been hated on. You don't look good. Nothing is right. Nothing is right about us. And then we're the first ones to admit that or to say that, right? Because if I can get you to oppress yourself, then I don't need to oppress you anymore. Right, Ryan?
Right.
So we have to do the work individually before we come together collectively, because I think that us white people, especially white women, especially as social workers, you know, I'm the white savior and I'm here collectively to be here and to save you and to do, you know, help black and brown people. When fucking black and brown people don't need my help, they need me to get the fuck out of the way.
Right.
But I need to understand myself first. And that is the work that we really, really need to do before we show up in any spaces. I don't care if you're part of Indivisible, which is a predominantly white space. I don't know if you know, part of the NAACP, you're part of any of these local organizations, or maybe it's just again, a house of worship that might have a racial justice meeting and team. But if you haven't done your own work, you are not showing up the way you need to. It's like coming to a football practice, forgetting your pads, your cup, your, you know, whatever else you might do, right? So you're just not showing up the way I need you to show up in order to fight. So
I love that analogy. You got to come prepared for what the task is.
That's right.
And yeah, I think it's I mean, this is the heart of what both of our work centers on, right? Is that
it is.
We need an anti-racism that says white people can and should be powerful, and to be powerful, you need to be healed. Because power is defined as in community, it's relational, it's not authoritarian. It's not the power that Trump and Hegseth are talking about. It's not to kill people, it's to build things together. And ultimately, I do believe that is what human beings want. That's what makes us happy, right? That's what I said. My working title was "What's in it for me." What's in it for me is health and happiness and connection. All the things that make us really, really function and happy as humans. You know, and I know Dr. Derek Bell says, you know, his whole thing of self-interest and that racism is never going to go away in America because of all that. And as much I love Dr. Bell, his work has been instrumental, and I feel like it's got to be my life work to prove him wrong.
That's right.
To get white people to say like, no, I recognize my self-interest isn't in capitalist accumulation of material goods and that it's actually in communal collective well-being and harmony with creation. And I gotta believe that we can do that. I have to believe that.
Yes, hope is essential. Hope is
Yeah.
absolutely essential. Believe me, spending this week at the Equal Justice Initiative and all of the legacy sites with Brian Stevenson. I mean, just last night, he was just, again, just such an amazing, amazing man, just saying that hope is so necessary. We have to have hope that we can create the multiracial democracy for America that most of us thought we had, which we never did. But we believe in that dream, and I think we need to, again, realize that Black people have always had that hope. They have survived this white supremacy and persevered through. If you have not been through these sites, this is just an amazing opportunity in Montgomery, Alabama, to visit the Equal Justice Initiative sites, to really understand the war that we're in right now, because this war has been going on over 400 years for white supremacy, and they're not going to let this go. They are not going to end this easily. Black people know it, Indigenous people know it, brown people know it. Us white people need to wake the fuck up.
Well, and because we're gonna lose, like we're not on the winning side of that.
We're
That's
already
the thing,
losing.
like
Already.
where it's losing. So before we wrap up, the name of the show is The Antidote, and so I like to end with, what would the antidote to what we've been talking about today? What's the antidote? How would white folks who are disrupting whiteness, how would we respond to Nolan Wells and these deaths? How would we respond to Shiloh Henricks? How do we respond to Pete Hegseth?
Do everything you can as you are reading and learning and listening to the Black people that are telling you what they see, what they hear, what they believe them. Do not doubt. Do not get defensive. Do not come up with some other excuse. You stay with what they are saying, what they believe, or what they literally have in their gut that they know is happening, right? They're trying to prove it. They're trying to, but they know something doesn't smell right. We need to believe that. That is part of our regaining and reclaiming our humanity, is to listen to what Black and brown people say, how they feel, what they're experiencing, because they have been through all of this. We have not. And so whenever you're looking for the truth, or you're looking to know what to do, who do you look to? You look to the people that have already been there and done that, right? So that is the antidote, is to stop your defensiveness, stop listening to systems of white supremacy and whiteness that are telling you that there's nothing to see here, and start believing what Black and brown people are saying. Again, they have never steered us wrong if you understand the history. They have never steered us wrong. They have never steered themselves wrong. So let's follow their lead. That is the antidote, and that is what I will continue to do to the best of my ability, because that is the path forward, and keep doing our work to understand why we don't listen to Black and brown people, why we don't, or why we're defensive, and why we keep coming up with all these excuses, or why we want to pretend that this isn't happening, or we want to look at another way, or want to say we're just too busy and we can't deal with this. No, we need to wake up and understand the time is now. We are needed now. I know the capitalist system wants to take every second of your day and your time. Again, We need to stay focused and engage and listen and keep working on loving ourselves so we have better clarity.
And I think an important part of that, or what I love about that, I love that answer. And I can imagine somebody saying, well, like, take now, like, what about, well, Candace Owens is saying something different than this and that, or like, what do we listen to Kanye West when he says white lives matter? Like, that's a black man. And I think and I know you mean this when you say this, it's what it is when you do your work and you hear that, you can hear the part of your soul that says, that's right, this doesn't feel good, this is wrong, that Nolan Wells shouldn't be dead, right? That you saw the video, you saw with your eyes that they murdered George Floyd. You see with your eyes that this administration is making billions off of suffering. When we do our work, it's that piece of our own humanity that says, hey, there's something that they're telling the truth right here. And to sit in that and say, is that my values? Is that what it is? And I think that's what I love about your work is you really articulate. And if you haven't yet, please go get Liabilities of Whiteness. It's up here. It's a fantastic work. What you're doing here is telling people, trust yourself, sit in what we've got going on, and you're giving some real concrete ways to do that. So Michelle, as we wrap up, tell people how can they get their book? How can people get connected to you?
Absolutely. It's on Amazon, but I don't want you to buy it from Amazon, so don't do that. I want you to you can if you Google Liabilities of Whiteness and where do I buy it? A bunch of independent bookstores, Black-owned bookstores would be even better to look for the book. So that would be amazing. And again, I am willing to have a conversation. Reach out to me if you have questions. This book is interactive because this, I've done my work. Obviously, it keeps going, but in this book, each chapter has a scan code. It starts with a video of me talking about the liability of whiteness. There's 21 of them in the book. And then at the end of each chapter, there are questions for you to think about. Wow, does this liability resonate with me? Or do I push back on this? Do I agree with this? When is this shown up for me? What is the work that I have to do? What do I need to really confront and to really bring either from my unconscious to my conscious, or really delve into the stories of when I was young? And it's going to be difficult. Like, I'm not sugarcoating this shit. This is not easy work, but I can tell you there is no roses without manure. So please understand, you've got to go through the shit. You do the work. You're going to come out a better human on the other side. I promise you, I am a much better human now that I have done this work. And as I say, I have a lot of work to do. So believe me, it's not done. But just being able to examine whiteness as a liability, to really think about, this is not a privilege. This is not, I know that I am privileged. Don't get me wrong. But this is not a system that I'm going to just sit with the privileges and somehow be okay that everyone else is either excluded, rejected, killed, murdered for it. I'm not okay with that. And I'm not going to be okay with that. I want to have empathy. I want to have compassion for myself and everyone around me. I would much rather live through love and compassion than this vitriol and hate that just feels so disgusting.
Amen.
Yeah.
And that's the part right there is when we do this work, we get back in touch with our souls,
Yes.
with the piece of us that's human. And then we can once we're in tune, you can really start to trust yourself, and you know what your values are, you know what the world you want to live in is, and what you want your kids to live in. So, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I'm sorry, Pops. You just show up so differently with the global majority. You just show up and walk around spaces so differently, because you know what's going on. You know what's going on, because I know a lot of white people show up in black and brown spaces right now, and are not doing what they need to do. Don't feel comfortable. Don't know what to say. Question themselves and all of that stuff because you haven't done the work.
That part. Michelle, thank you so much, not only for joining us tonight, but for writing the book and the work that you do. Make sure y'all go get, here, I'll throw it up here one more time. Make sure y'all go get this, Liabilities of Whiteness. Google it, buy it from an independent bookstore. Follow Liabilities of Whiteness. Where else? On Instagram. You on Facebook? I don't think so.
Not on Facebook.
I'm dating myself. I don't think anybody's on Facebook. Yeah.
On Instagram.
Just get connected.
That's right. Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Say hi to people. And again, thank you. All right, wonderful people. That is going to do it for the Antidote tonight. I say this all the time, but I am going to try to be more consistent on this. And so thank you. If you're watching this, we had a couple people jump on, didn't see any comments. We're going to be consistent enough where y'all can join us every Thursday and we can have actual dialogue. But again, go ahead, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with some people, check out some old episodes. And yeah, thank y'all. Peace and love.